Hi everyone, and welcome to English 2010. My name is Lacey Hope, and I'll be your instructor for the semester. This is Core Lecture 1, and today we'll be doing a brief course introduction. Like I said, welcome to English 2010. For Core Lecture 1, or for this video, I will provide a brief overview of the course. I'll highlight key information from the syllabus, we'll explore the Canvas layout, and we'll conclude by discussing the next steps. Okay, kicking off the overview, why you're here. So sometimes I get students who ask the question, well, why do we need to take English 2010? What's so different about it? Why am I here? So while you learned a number of great skills and you probably engaged in great topics regarding writing, English 2010 is your opportunity to engage more thoughtfully and critically in the research process, and also to develop strategies to help you write longer, more engaging works. More specifically, I see English 2010 as a way to develop additional skills to help you compose in academic settings. So the concepts that we're going to be talking about here in English 2010, while yes, I'm going to ask that you demonstrate your understanding of those skills and concepts in this course, but the idea is so that you can take what we learn about rhetoric, what we learn about writing, what we learn about research, and apply them to different classrooms, different projects. So yes, we may be talking about developing ideal search terms, and yes, you'll develop that skill in this course, but you could see how that might help you when you're writing a history paper or you are writing, a report for another course. And so what we're really going to focus on is how can we transfer these skills that we've learned in English 2010 to help us write other research-backed works for other disciplines and in other courses. And also with this course specifically, we'll talk about how to engage non-academic audiences. So writing that we can do to engage public audiences and promote public change. You'll also in 2010 acquire abilities to engage with multiple perspectives. So in English 1010, I imagine you developed skills for crafting a thesis statement and, composing an argument, and which is something that you will need to be able to demonstrate here. But what we're going to be doing in English 2010 is building on that. So yes, you were probably able to write a really solid, persuasive piece that was backed by some degree of research. What we're going to do in English 2010 is to say, okay, now that we have formed that thought, now that we have formed that argument and supported it to some degree, we want to consider, how does my argument fit within the ongoing discussion or the ongoing conversation regarding this topic? And to be aware of what other perspectives are, what other opinions are, how others are approaching the issue, and how we can best go about our argument to effectively fit into that ongoing conversation. Also in English 2010, we'll understand and appreciate the role rhetoric plays in research and persuasion. And in fact, we will jump immediately into that with Core Lecture 2 as we start talking about rhetoric and rhetorical situations. Okay, so I just laid out why you're here and what we want to do with our time in English 2010. So the next question is, how exactly are we going to do that? So throughout this course, we're actually going to focus on public composition to use academic skills to benefit local communities. I find it's important that the content that we learn isn't just restricted to the classroom. Rather, the skills that you learn here with research, with rhetoric, with using content ethically, with everything that we're going to discuss, I find that we can use these skills to benefit our communities. And so that's really going to be the focus, is to say, okay, how can we use these academic skills to benefit the lives of our neighbors, to benefit the lives of those who we share a community or a state or a country with. So, with that in mind, I'm going to ask you to engage civilly with different perspectives and ideas. And in fact, Unit 2 is going to focus on that quite directly. We'll talk about ways for saying, okay, if you disagree with someone, how do you disagree and still continue that discussion? How can you disagree with someone and still continue to learn and still continue to teach those who you disagree with about your own view? So we're going to talk about strategies that help us do that in an effective manner. We'll also identify a publicly engaged topic you'd like to research and advocate for public change on. So regardless of what you are interested in, your paper and your final paper at the end of the semester, as well as some of the work we're going to be doing throughout the course, will all focus around not just a topic you're interested in, but how you can use that topic to advocate for public good. So in the past, I have seen some students who have written papers on video games, and they were curious about, video game violence, for example. And so they were to say, okay, well, what can those in, the Washington County community reasonably do to help curtail video game violence? Or what can those in St. George do to help with students getting higher scores on their science exams or their standardized tests? Or what can those in the hurricane area do to ensure wage equality? So again, these can be topics that you're interested in just generally, but you want to think about, okay, well, how can my local community fix this? So that's really going to be the way in which we approach a lot of our assignments and a lot of the concepts that we explore. So, to do that and to really lay that theoretical foundation for doing all of this, we're going to regularly engage with materials and in discussions regarding the ethics and applications of rhetoric, academic research, and public engagement. So the topics that we explore in core lectures, the discussions that we have on a weekly basis, the assignments that I ask you to complete will all ultimately circle back to how can we use academic research techniques and academic writing techniques to not only improve our skills as academic writers, but also to perhaps use these skills to improve the lives of those in our community. All right, so now that I have laid down the approach for our English 2010 course and sort of given a brief overview of how exactly we're going to do that, I want to switch gears and start talking about the syllabus and the course calendar. So we will look at that, both of those documents here in greater detail in just a moment, but I wanted to just bring up some discussion points before we do that. First and foremost, all important information regarding this course is included in either the syllabus or course calendar. So if you have any questions about policies, like regarding late work, or about, what textbook you need to buy, or about when something is due, you will be able to find that on the syllabus and course calendar. What I would recommend is if you have any questions whatsoever, especially as it regards to due dates and course policies, first check those documents before contacting me, because a lot of the time I get students who will email me with questions and it's right there, and they took the time to compose an email when they could have just double checked and saved time on their end. So any questions that you have, please check those two documents first. If you can't find what you're looking for, or if you do find what you're looking for but it's still unclear, please feel free to message me. Now, as we'll see here in a few minutes, the syllabus and course calendar are available in multiple locations on Canvas. So while I always recommend printing these materials out so you have a physical copy, there are going to be several locations in which you can find this material online. So the syllabus details methods of contacting me. It also will provide a strong overview of the assignments that we'll do throughout the entire semester and important grading policies. The course calendar details bi-week topics of discussion, so what exactly we're going to be looking at, due preparation materials, and due assignments. And also on the course calendar, as we'll see, I do have important DSU due dates that are more university-wide considerations and not necessarily relevant to English 2010. So with the syllabus, what we're going to specifically keep an eye out for will be methods of how to contact me, major assignments that we'll be doing, important course policies, and university resources. So let's take a look at the course calendar. So this is what you should see when you come across the syllabus. So we have English 2010, section 43. And again, our selected topic is composition and the public. A few things I want to point out before we move on. Yes, my name is Lacey Hope. And when it comes to addressing me, I know some students will tend to ask me what I prefer. I honestly do not care. It is whatever you are comfortable with. You can address me as Instructor Hope or Miss Hope, Mrs. Hope, or you can just address me as Lacey. It really doesn't matter to me. What it boils down to is whatever you're comfortable with, and I will certainly respect that. My email address is lacy.hope@dixie.edu. Now, if you, anytime that you correspond with me, be it via email or via Canvas, please allow for a 24-hour response time. Now, with my office, I actually am not on DSU's St. George campus. Actually, I live up in Eastern Washington where I am working on a PhD in English. I am a Dixie alum. I graduated quite a few years ago from the English department, and I work remotely. So I do not have a physical office at the Dixie State campus in St. George. So because of that, I am available on Canvas Chat. I also am available on Skype as well as Google Hangout. If you want to chat with me using video conferencing software like that, please just let me know, and that way we can set up a time. That way I can make sure I am in a calm and quiet location to answer any questions or to address any concerns you may have. Now, I do hold office hours where I am readily available on Canvas, and those are held on Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And please keep in mind that is Mountain Time. So anytime, even though I myself am in Pacific Time, being in Washington, everything is still Mountain Time, Utah time, local to St. George. So if this specific time though does not work out for you, please let me know, and I am more than happy to schedule individual appointments with you throughout the semester. That way we can chat, you can have your questions answered, and I can understand how you're approaching the content. All right, required text. You will need to get the textbook They Say, I Say with Readings, 4th edition. That is available in the DSU bookstore. There will be other required readings and preparation materials that will be available on Canvas. Required materials, you'll need access to Canvas, of course, and then you'll also need word processing software. Microsoft Word is preferable. You must be able to submit assignments as a .doc or a .docs file. If you are working with a Mac, I would recommend, if you do not have Microsoft Office, if you don't have Word, to use Google Docs, and then that way you can change the file format when you download. Pages, unfortunately, just has proved too problematic. I don't accept it, so please do keep that in mind. Suggested materials, things you don't have to have, but might be helpful as we move throughout the semester. I believe that social media sites are a great place to assess and in some instances engage in ongoing public discussions, and I also think they're great research tools, which we will explore here in the next month and a half. So, suggested materials would be access to Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit for information gathering and research, as well as language analysis discussions. But please keep in mind, I will not do any assignments, I will not do any discussions that would require you to have an account on these if you do not want them. So again, this will not in any way, shape, or form be required, but it might be helpful. Also, I would recommend getting access to annotation software like Mendeley or Zotero. Something that you can do is chat with the librarians at the DSU library. Sometimes you might have to pay for these kind of programs, but university libraries can often provide them to students for free. So it can range from one university to the next and even 1 year to the next. So I would just recommend seeing what DSU currently has available for students. Now, these kinds of programs can be extremely helpful when we move into the annotated bibliography and the final civic engagement argument. It can help you keep your materials together, really help you compose, little by little rather than sitting down and having to just throw everything on the screen. So again, not required, but certainly helpful. So here you can find the course information and goals. I won't go into it in great detail. So let's talk about assignments and grading criteria. Now, over this semester, we will have 4 major writing projects. The first one will be a rhetorical analysis. The next one will be a multi-perspective synthesis. Third will be an annotated bibliography, and the fourth will be a civic engagement argument. Now, I want to let you know now that projects 2, 3, and 4 are designed to feed into one another. We'll start off broad with project 2, start to narrow our focus as we gather research with project 3, and craft a specific but still lengthy and engaging argument for project 4. All that being said, please keep in mind that if you decide to pursue and research one topic for Project 2, you are not married to that for the rest of this semester. Like I said, these are designed to feed into one another, but if, let's say, you're doing Project 3 and you're like, wow, what I did during Project 2, it's not really, what I'm interested in, or I'm not really engaging with it in a way that I find helpful, then you can certainly switch topics. But if you go into it in mind with, okay, if I do project 2, 3, and 4 on relatively the same thing, it's going to make each project far more manageable. Other assignments that we will do regularly. First, we've got the weekly discussions, in which I will post a discussion topic each week. You will contribute a total of 3 times, respond once to what I initially posted, and then you'll reply to 2 different peers. We also will have weekly homeworks. Now, with the weekly homework, you are required nearly each week to watch certain core lectures that speak directly to English 2010 topics, and then you will be able to also select one mini lecture of your choice. Now, these are mini lecture topics are things that aren't exclusive to English 2010, but often cover topics that students have different levels of mastery of. So for example, some students are really confident writing creating an original title. Other students were like, maybe I would help with having more instruction on it. And so this is kind of your opportunity to design the curriculum and engage with topics that you think would be best. And again, of course, as you move through the required material for the course. So with that homework, you will write a summary for all lectures that you watch, and then I would say a strong majority of the lectures will also have assignments that go with them as well. So, and you'll submit those on a weekly basis unless otherwise noted on the course calendar. So you can see the grade distribution here, how everything breaks down. We'll also have a pretest, midterm, and a final. I want to note that the pretest, or the pre-course assessment as it is labeled on Canvas, is just available on Canvas. However, you will need to go to the testing center for both the midterm and the final. If you are not in the St. George area, do not sweat it. As we get closer to the midterm, usually with a few weeks out, I will post information on how you can secure a proctor and how you can go about working with the DSU Testing Center to get those exams taken care of in your own local area. Let's move on to discussing class and institutional policies. First thing is first, attendance. Even though this is an online course, I still want to make sure that you're regularly engaging with the content. So your discussion is based off of your participation in the weekly discussions and your successful submissions of weekly homework. The discussions and the homework really do give me the opportunity as the instructor to see, what's landing, what everyone is engaging with, how everyone is understanding the content. And so that way I can craft materials that speak to where we're at and, what we need to address. So if you miss over 4 full discussion contributions and or 4 full weekly homework submissions, you put your grade in jeopardy. You put yourself in jeopardy of a failing grade. So please do keep that in mind. Late work. So the only late work I accept will be for final project submissions, meaning the final due dates for projects 1 through 4. Keep in mind, though, that there is a 10% deduction for every 24-hour period after the scheduled due date. All other assignments, including lecture summaries and assignments, weekly discussions, peer review assignments, and rough draft submissions, will not be accepted after the scheduled due date. I do, though, have another policy that if this seems a bit intimidating, that might help hopefully alleviate some of that stress. I call it the life happens policy. So I completely understand that life throws us curveballs. Sometimes you get sick or your kid gets sick or a big emergency comes up and it just prevents you from submitting something on time. That happens, and I totally understand that. So if you are in that position, you have the opportunity to invoke this life happens policy or clause. So if you would like to invoke it, you can submit your project up to 72 hours or 3 calendar days late with no penalty, no point deduction. I won't ask for any questions or explanations. You can simply just say, "Hi, Ms. Hope. Hi, Instructor Hope. Hi, Lacey. Here is this assignment. Here is this project. I am invoking the life happens clause." That's all you have to do. If you want to provide additional context, you can, but really no questions, no explanations needed. So please note, though, that you can only invoke this clause once during the semester. This really is designed for textbook life emergency situations. So once you've done that, any and all late submissions are subject to this policy right here. So invoke life happens in a thoughtful way, and just keep in mind the consequences of what happens after if you do choose to invoke it. So when we think about assignment submission policy, like I said before, please just make sure it's a .dot or a .docs file. You can access those file types on Microsoft Word or by using Google Drive. Like I said, Pages is very problematic, and so I don't accept them. Like I said, if you are working off of a Mac and you do not have access to Word, Drive is a fantastic alternative. Okay, so, and one more thing I want to know, I grade what you submit. So what that basically means is double check your uploads, double check the files that you have attached, double check any links that you're including, because if I open a file and it doesn't work, then you then become, you put yourself in a position for the late work policy. So double check everything. I don't like hunting people down and saying, hey, where is this, when it is your responsibility to ensure that things are uploaded and submitted properly. All right, academic honesty and integrity, what this comes down to. Please don't plagiarize. Please don't cheat. I When I was at Dixie State, I actually sat on the academic integrity policy committee as a student representative, and I will say they do not mess around with this stuff. Especially as we move into research-based writing, because plagiarism is often a big concern in English courses, especially as it relates to these academic honesty and integrity policies. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I am more than happy to provide you any and all feedback to ensure you're avoiding plagiarism. I'm more than happy to chat with you on Skype. If you would like me to be there via video to help walk you through some concepts, again, to really avoid this problem. But I have no hesitations reporting instances of cheating or plagiarism as they come up. So please be aware of that. And any questions that you do have regarding this, let me know, and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. All right, disruptive behavior policy. So what this comes down to is don't be disruptive, especially when it comes to the weekly discussions. Make sure that you are responding to the post and to your peers in a way that furthers discussion and thoughtfully and civilly furthers discussion. This doesn't mean that we're going to avoid disagreement. Absolutely not. We are going to actually practice actively disagreeing civilly throughout the course. But what this comes down to is please make sure that we are maintaining a space that is safe to have these discussions and welcoming to different perspectives and ideas. So don't shut the conversation down. Use language that keeps the conversation moving forward. Best way I can say to avoid any issues with the disruptive behavior policy. Disability support services statement. So if you have any noted medical, psychological, or learning disabilities, I am more than happy to work with you on that. I just need the proper information from the Disability Resource Center. So just make sure that if you do want accommodations, or if accommodations are appropriate for you learning and demonstrating the content, go through the DRC, go through those proper channels. And again, I'm more than happy to work with you based off of whatever you have developed with the DRC. Okay, let's see. Here are some additional policies and services that are available to you. We've got the academic calendar. Here is some information regarding the Disability Resource Center. So if you would like more information on that, you can call this number. Library, you can find more information here, information for the testing center, tutoring center, computer center, your email accounts, all that good stuff. So check out this information, read through the syllabus in greater detail on your own time, but let's now jump to the course calendar. Now, we're not going to go through every single week. Rather, what my intention here is just to show you the basic layout, where you can find content and information, and what changes to the calendar will look like. So in the far left-hand column, we have our lectures, our core lectures that are due that particular week. So each week is labeled. So we've got week 1 and we've got the appropriate dates. You can see that with week 2 as well, and that will follow throughout the rest of the document. Now, between August 29th and August 25th, you will need to watch and do the summaries and the assignment for core lectures 1 and 2. So the course introduction and the next one, core lecture 2, rhetoric, rhetorical situations, and public composition. You will also need to do a mini lecture of your choice. That is just a given unless it's otherwise noted on the calendar. And the reason that I don't have the mini lectures on here is because you essentially get to decide which one you watch. In this column to the right of it, we've got the preparation materials. Now, the reason it says preparation materials instead of readings is because sometimes I will ask you to read, other times, like you'll see here, I ask you to review, other times I'll ask you to watch something. So you can see for week 1, we've got all 3 of those. So I want you to read the article, The Sacred, Profane, and Mundane Rhetorical Situations, but I also want you to watch Purdue OWL Introduction to Rhetoric, and I want you to review the Project 1 assignment sheet. With these readings, these videos will often go hand in hand with what we're talking about in the core lectures. Oftentimes, I will refer to this content in the weekly discussion, so it's always good to make sure that you are up to date with all of the preparation materials. So this first week, I will just assume that y'all are getting your textbooks or you have ordered them on Amazon and you are waiting. So you'll notice this time around, we don't have any readings from They Say, I Say. And so each one of these you will be able to find online, which I've hyperlinked. Now, when we get into later on in the semester, we can see here to say, okay, read, they say, I say. This obviously isn't hyperlinked because this is a textbook that you should have at this point. So do be aware of that. All right. Column to the right of that will be the assignments due. This is where anything that is graded and due that particular week, it will be noted here in this column. So for the discussion, respond to the post. So you'll want to do that by the 22nd, which is Thursday. Weekly homework, that's due the 25th. Your reply or your responses to 2 peers, also due the 25th, and your pre-course assessment, also due the 25th. So as we move throughout the semester, you'll see that though these 3 are fairly standard, you will most likely find them in almost every single week, but with a couple of exceptions. It's important to keep an eye out for when we have additions to those primary 3. So submit project 1 rough draft. So that's going to be due September 3rd. Return project 1 peer review forms. That's going to be due September 8th. But you see again, we had those 3 here as well for the discussion and the weekly homework. So again, just be sure that you are reviewing carefully each item in the appropriate box. And then over here, I've got important DSU due dates. These aren't necessarily relevant to what we're doing in English 2010, but it's always good to keep an eye out for, especially if you're curious about, like, for example, the last day to add or audit classes. As we go throughout the semester, noted different breaks here as well when you can start registering, when graduation deadlines are. So that is what you will find in that column. All right, so hopping back here, let's do a brief overview of what we're going to look at with Canvas. So our Canvas, it's taken me a while, but I've got this organized in a way that I think is hopefully pretty helpful. So we will look at the announcements, we'll look at the weekly modules, we'll find the different locations for the syllabus and course calendar, as well as the discussion, and go over direct messaging. So hopping over here, I am currently in student view, so this is what you should be seeing when you land on Canvas. Okay, so this will be your home page. You can see here that we have weekly modules. Now, all of our content is broken down into these weekly modules. So if I simply click here and expand, I've got the readings that are not found in They Say, I Say. I can find those here. I can also find links to videos that I'm asking you to watch. Also, I asked you to review the Project 1 assignment description, so that can be found here as well. I've also included the assignment descriptions for the weekly discussion and the weekly homework. Also, you can find the assignment submission folders here as well. So we've got the week 1 homework as well as a link to the week 1 discussion. So quite literally everything that we are doing on for a particular week, anything that's mentioned on the calendar, you are going to be able to find it in the appropriate week's module. So you can see here, they unlock each Monday at 12:01 a.m. So if you are a morning person and like to do this stuff as soon as you wake up, it will be waiting for you. So these will unlock regularly throughout the semester. Now, the only thing right now that is missing, because I'm quite literally still recording these right now, will be the lectures. Now, I will also include links to the required core lectures in each weekly module. I also will provide suggested mini lectures, but again, you are more than welcome to say, I don't want to watch any of those, but there's another one that I want to watch. So with that being said, let's hop down to announcements. Each week, I will post a weekly announcement that will contextualize the content we're looking at and also provide a reminder of what's due, any reminders or things that you should be aware of. So, and where you can find that content. So, especially if you do need to have an exam proctored, either the midterm or the final, this will be the place where I will share that content on how you can work with the DSU Testing Center and get that all taken care of. So please read the weekly announcements. Sometimes I will decide to say, okay, you know what, we're just going to take, an extra week on this, or don't worry about that. So sometimes, in the announcements, if there are changes to the course calendar or to what I want you to do with something, this is where you will find that information. And again, it just like the weekly modules, this will publish every Monday at 12:01 a.m. So again, if you're a morning person, this is going to be waiting for you. All right, when we go to assignments, again, you can find all of these assignment submission folders in the appropriate weekly module, but if you want to see, how these all look all together, you can certainly come here. So these are, of course, upcoming assignments. And you can see all of those due dates are provided for you. So while these assignment submission folders, while all of them may not be unlocked yet, they will appear on Canvas as something that is coming up. All right, jumping to discussions. Each week I will pin whatever the discussion happens to be. So this week it's week 1. You simply click on it. And I will provide you, sometimes I'll include videos or pictures or memes or something like that. Other times I won't, but this one, because of the nature of this discussion, I decided to include a meme. So you'll go through, you'll read all of this content, see exactly what I'd like you to respond to. Sometimes when you are responding or replying to 2 peers, I will give you some scaffolding, some suggestions on how you might do that. Other times I won't. So just be sure to read the discussion in its entirety so that way you are contributing appropriately. So the due dates are also listed down here as well. You simply click reply and then that will add to the thread. And then when you want to come through and reply to your peers, there will be another reply button there as well. You also have the ability to like posts. So if there's one that, you don't, maybe there are 3 posts by your peers that really pique your interest. You respond to 2, but maybe you like the 3rd, or whatever the case may be. So again, the discussions for each week will be included in the appropriate module, but if you would like to come here to locate those discussions, you can certainly use this tab. The grades tab here, that'll just show you your progress throughout the course, what you have received thus far. All right, let's jump down to pages. So like I said, I will include the required core lectures in the appropriate weekly module, but with mini lectures especially, since it is sort of pick and choose as you go, I've included the hyperlinks for each of the mini lectures that are available, and there are a couple that I am sort of reconfiguring right now, and I will post them within the upcoming weeks once I've updated them appropriately. But anyway, so if the mini lectures that I've suggested, if you've already done them, or if they just aren't what you want to look at, you can certainly come to this page and look through the rest of them. Also, I will include, and this is also an additional way to get at the core lectures, they will be listed sequentially, so starting with core lecture 1, and then just as you scroll down the page, you'll find the rest of them as they are published. Also, what you will find here, there will be videos once I get them uploaded to the assignment descriptions. So what I've done is that for each assignment or each graded component of the course, I've also put together a description video. So to kind of walk you through the context, walk you through some sort of caveats on the assignments and some things you might want to keep an eye out for. And so that way, if you have a question after you read the assignment description, you can watch the video. And if the video doesn't clarify it, then you can always message me. You aren't required to watch these videos, but they are just a supplemental resource if you find that helpful. Okay, files. I said earlier you can find the syllabus and course calendar in multiple places, and you certainly can. This is one of them. So if you go to the files tab here, you can find the assignment sheets that are available for the assignments that we're working on. You will also be able to find the syllabus and the course calendar, and throughout the semester, I will build this writing resources folder as well, based off of what people have expressed interest in, what you'd like to learn more about, and when I do add on to this, I will make sure to note it in the announcements. Okay, syllabus. Another place you can find the syllabus. So we've got the full text here, as usual, that we looked at earlier, but also what's great is that it provides this course summary, which includes all of the due dates that we have coming up. All right, so quizzes. When this one obviously isn't available quite yet, but by the time you watch it, it will be. So you will need to take the pre-course assessment by Sunday, August 25th at 11:59 p.m. It's worth 20 points, and this really is just to give me a sense of what you understand about academic writing, sort of where you're at in the process, and what you want to learn more about throughout this semester. Okay, and finally, let's take a look at the modules. So this doesn't differ much from our homepage, except when we're on the homepage, we get more of these links on the side. We get a better margin navigation. But if we come to modules, it's pretty much the exact same thing. Really, again, the only thing that's missing here are the videos for the lectures, just because they haven't been uploaded quite yet because we're in the middle of them. But this will be another place that you can locate all of the course content as it unfolds on a weekly basis. Now, as we go throughout the semester, as questions arise, as concerns or comments arise, easiest way to get a hold of me is just by clicking over here on this inbox. inbox and sending me a direct message on Canvas. I check Canvas and my email daily, but I'll be honest, I'm on Canvas far more often. So while you may email me, I might not see it until hours later or maybe until the next day, whereas with Canvas, it's more likely that I will see it as closer to when you send it and I can respond more quickly. So that is navigating Canvas. So what now? What are we going to do from here? What I'm going to ask that you do is familiarize yourself with the content in the week 1 module. Read and watch the assigned preparation materials, watch core lecture 2 and a mini lecture of your choice, and then compose the required summaries and perform the required lecture assignments. Review the week 1 discussion and determine if you want to participate this week. Remember, you don't have to participate in every single week. You need to do at least 10 in order to be eligible for full credit. So if you want to not do this week, you don't have to do this week. You can make up for it later on in the semester. The response to the initial post are due Thursday, and replies to 2 peers are due Sunday. Be sure to take the pre-course assessment, and please message me if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you're experiencing any technical issues. I am here to help. So do not be shy. Please, please, please message me. Okay, so for the weekly homework, what you are going to submit on before 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, August 25th, you are going to submit your core lecture 1 summary. So summarize this, review the weekly homework assignment sheet to figure out what to include, and maybe watch the video if you find that helpful. Your core lecture 2 should include your lecture summary and the assignment that goes along with that, as well as a summary and an assignment for the mini lecture of your choice. If you have any questions, or if there's any content that I can speak to in greater detail, please don't hesitate to contact me. All right, everyone, until next time.